This week, one listener wants to feel an instant spark, while another has found a great guy but yearns for intimacy. How important is that spark? And when should you feel it? And what to do when your lovemaking doesn't provide the intimacy you need? Welcome to the talking phase. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Talking Phase podcast, the world's greatest podcast for relationships and datings in your 50s or whatever we're going to say. That's a
40s, 30s, 20s, 70s.
Yeah, all that. My name is Tom, and I am joined, as always, by the beautiful Pam. But before we get to Pam, I hope it's okay. I want to tell you about a couple of things that are going on in my life.
It's okay.
Good? All right. So everybody always asks, so quick update on Laura. I think I mentioned last week, she met my kids. They all got along really well. One of my sons texted me a couple of days later and said, I really liked her. I hope you bring her every month. And, you know,
like
just
her more than you.
warms my heart, you know, and I texted him back and said, I hope so too. So bottom line, things are going great. We'll just leave it at that with Laura. The next thing I want to talk about, everybody knows, or at least anybody who's listened to this show for more than 5 minutes knows that Brian, our amazing producer, he and I work together in our day job. We have another guy on our team, a guy named Jay, spelled wrong, by the way, Jai. I don't know what the hell's going on there, but
nobody can see how it's spelled, probably.
Well, his real name is Jay Iris, one word. So he just goes by Jay. I don't know what his parents were thinking, but anyway, our team of 3 has 31 events planned across the U.S. between now and the middle of April. So poor Brian is going to be a true road warrior for the next 4 months. I hope you gave your wife and daughter a good kiss goodbye, Brian, because you're not going to see him for a while. But we had our first one yesterday in Salt Lake City, so 30 to go. We're also planning the biggest trade show of the year. So we are deep into planning. Brian, how are you feeling about that? You ready to roll?
Yeah, I actually, I've already contacted my lawyer, got some divorce papers already mapped out.
Oh, Brian.
My wife, and then I'll be a featured guest on the Talking Phase. No, I'm excited, Tom. She's aware. We're ready to roll. I'm just candidly, right? I'm more sad because my daughter is at that point in her life where it's like every other day, it's like she's learning something new. So it's like, I just feel like I'm going to be gone a day or two and she's going to learn how to do like long form equations and stuff. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
How adorable.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons we tried to compress all these events into the first quarter so that you can, it's like rip the Band-Aid off. That we're just getting it over with so you don't have to miss it all year. So, all right. So anyway, that's what's happening in my life. Life is great. Utah's fun, which again, every week I go, how the hell is that even possible that I can say that?
Weird.
Laura and I went to see this tribute to Queen by candlelight.
I hear it's amazing. Was it amazing? I'm going to get tickets. It's here. It's here like sometime in the next week or two.
Absolutely amazing. A couple of weeks, we're headed up to Jackson for the weekend. So yeah, things are going well. So anyway, Pam, what's happening? What's going on?
So glad to hear it. So I do not have a relationship. It is now, what's the date? It is now January 31st. I've made it all the way through January. I am still in the Single Forever Club, not for lack of trying. Actually, it kind of is for lack of trying. I've been going out and hanging out and having a great time, but not doing a tremendous amount of dating. I will say something about the dating apps. I only do them, as you guys know, like 3 to 4 minutes a day in one room of my house. And when I do
the shitter,
it's shit on shit. And for those who are new here, that just means that dating apps are shit. So you should only do them when you're, when I match with somebody, and I matched with somebody like, I don't know, 5 or 6 days ago. And in typical dating app fashion, we chat and we texted here and there, and it was on the regular. And, he asked if I wanted to get together, and I said, well, how about a phone call first? I feel like I would, even if I'm not going to do a video call, I'd like to at least hear somebody's voice, know what they sound like, have a mature adult conversation. And so we set up a call and talked about the call. And then the day of the call came, and 5 minutes before he was supposed to call, he sent me a message and said, I'm stuck at work and I can't call, and I don't know when I'll be free. And, I don't care. I'm very minimally invested, even if I've been chatting with them. And so I was like, okay, well, we can reschedule, not a big deal. And so we are in the course of trying to reschedule a phone call. But if it's been a week and I've already had to reschedule a phone call, what are the odds that this is somebody you're going to have a successful dating relationship with, or any kind of relationship? So we'll see if that leads anywhere. Stay tuned for that dating saga. On a brighter note, later today, Nikki and I are headed to the beach, which is
Woohoo!
it's very weird.
Yeah.
It's the end of January in North Carolina. It is cold. For those of you who don't know, Nikki is my daughter. She's 30, and we have an Instagram page called Mother and Daughter Abroad, and they pay us to go places and to travel, and I
Wow.
love that for us. So she thought it would be a great idea to do a Galentine's partnership with the state of North Carolina. And for some reason, the state of North Carolina feels that we will be able to make it look like this is a place you should come to go to the beach at the end of January, beginning of February. I don't know how we're going to do it, but they are paying us a really nice amount of money. So
Nice.
hop over to Mother and Daughter Abroad right around Valentine's Day. These will go up, and see if it looks like we were having fun when you really know that we were freezing. But I'm just excited to go away with her. Like, she will have not been living in the house for a month. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out of town and having a couple of days and nights without any boys around. And by boys, of course, I mean Charlie and Adam. I love Adam, but
those damn male people.
looking forward to getting out of town.
Yeah. Well, that's always
And
the fun part, right?
And now I already know what's going on with you. So it seems like, other than telling you that my empty nest is feeling pretty nice, yeah, which it is,
Get used to that.
we are starting, if you guys were with us last week, you know that we are starting to do more emails now. As Tom mentioned last week, we are inundated. Clearly, it's a new year, new me. Everybody is looking for answers, and clearly, with our combined, I'm trying to do the math, 113 years between us,
Oof.
we are the place to come for those answers. So we're going to be doing a couple emails until we get caught up, at the very least.
Not looking forward to it.
All right. Do we have any emails today?
You've got mail.
Hey,
Yes, we do.
have an email. Okay, here we go. Hi, Pam and Tom. I've been thinking a lot about my approach to dating. That sounds like I could have written this email. And I feel like I'm getting in my own way. Here's my situation. Whenever I go on a date, I'm always looking for that immediate spark, something that tells me there's chemistry or a real connection. But if I don't feel it right away, I usually don't go on a second date.
Done.
The thing is, yeah, so
Cool.
what'd you say? That's cool?
Cool. Next email. Let's go. No, just kidding.
No, stop it. The thing is, I'm starting to wonder if I'm putting too much pressure on that first date feeling. I know relationships take time to grow, but I've been so caught up in chasing that initial spark that I'm not giving myself or the other person a real chance to see if there's something deeper there. How can I get past this need for instant chemistry and learn to focus more on getting to know someone over time? I really want to break this pattern and approach dating in a healthier way, but I don't know where to start. Thank you so much for any advice you can share. I love what you are doing with the podcast. Best. And he signed it. Wait, is it a he or a she? Holy cow. Do I not know? Well, they signed it Sparkless. And I don't know if this is a man or a woman. I'm going to say it's a woman. Let's.
Really? I would think it's a man, but maybe that's just our own gender bias right there.
You know what that proves is that we both can relate to wanting to feel a spark.
How interesting.
Male and female perspective. So maybe it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. I have a feeling that we're going to feel the same way about it. And how is it that you feel about that, Tom? The instant gratification?
Well, I'll start. I mean, I'm going to say he because I think it's a him. But I agree with Sparkless in the one part where he says relationships do take time to grow. Of course. But there's a big but. And as Pee Wee Herman used to say, everybody has a big but.
And everything before the but is bullshit.
Right. No, that's true. Relationships take time to grow. However, if the chemistry isn't there, it isn't there. Period. Now, I know that, by the way, is something that women tend to disagree with. But as I talk to men about it, and men agree with me. So I think it's different for men and women. So from a man's perspective, I'm assuming that Sparkless is a man. And I know we don't know, which is crazy. I think that's the first time we've not at least been able to go back and at least feel
Right.
pretty confident.
Going back.
Wow, that is funny. But I just think if the chemistry isn't there, the chemistry isn't there, period. I don't believe it magically appears later on. We've all heard that over time, the spark fades, but it fades out. It doesn't fade in.
Mm,
So that's my opinion. So as far as I'm concerned, Sparkless, there's nothing unhealthy to want chemistry. I don't think you need to get past this. Just keep looking for the spark, because it's once you felt the spark that you want to build a deeper relationship with them. The spark isn't the relationship. I get that. But that's why you want a relationship with that person. And maybe that's why I'm single.
well, you're not really single.
Well, okay. But that's why I have been single and unsuccessful at not being single. How's that?
All right. Well, I'm going to go in a surprisingly completely different road than Tom. I saw TikTok a while ago, and I think I even sent it to you. And it was about this exact phenomenon where people expect to feel this magical chemistry on a first date. And I know you know the woman who does these kind of advice. She's very famous, and I can't remember her name. But what she said was, and I definitely sent this to you, what she said was that you can't expect to feel this magical spark / chemistry on a first date because you're sitting across from a stranger. You can think that that person is physically attractive or they're your type, anything like that. But that kind of spark and magic that happens as you get to know somebody. Like how can you possibly know after an hour having a drink or a coffee or a lunch or a dinner or whatever it is? How can you know whether that person is somebody that you would want to have a relationship with if you don't even know that person? You've only crossed off where they work, if they have kids, where they're from, their dating app experiences. You haven't shared any common fun experiences together. You don't know how they bowl. You don't know how they drive. You don't know how they look at a beautiful sunset. I mean, I think that those are things that have to be taken into account in this new world we live in. We are so quick to go on the date and say, nah, I didn't feel any magic. I'm sorry. I don't want to see you again. And I am 100% guilty of this. And I said in 2025, I was going to be different, although being different would mean that I'd have to go on dates. And I'm not doing that right now. But I wholeheartedly disagree with the fact that you need to feel this magical spark on a first date, especially off a dating app.
Okay. Counterpoint. You ready?
Yeah, of course.
Can you feel the anti-spark on a first date?
Yes.
Why? You don't know how they like sunsets. You don't know how they bowl. You don't know any of that same shit you just brought up, but you're so willing to throw them out because of those of the lack of spark. So
Yeah.
why are you willing to bring them in?
You didn't tell me what the lack of spark was. The lack of spark in my book would be called a turnoff. And once I'm turned
You
off,
don't know the other things.
You're right. You don't know the other things, but there's a big difference between wanting to feel magic with a stranger and sitting across from somebody who is spewing alternate opinions on politics, on the world, on religion, on kindness. People can say things on a first date that immediately, this is not somebody that I would want to get to know better. However, if you don't really learn anything about somebody on a first date and they're your type or not your type or whatever, if you find them physically repulsive, then no, there's no spark. You're not going to go on a second date. But I can sit across from somebody who is attractive. And unfortunately, I have been very guilty of, well, I didn't feel chemistry. I didn't feel magic, sparks, whatever. And so I don't go on a second date. And now that I look back on it and I think about some of those people, I realize that after listening to some experts, and I have been listening to quite a few of them, I realized that I probably walked away from some things that might have been pretty good had I given them more of a chance than just an hour.
Well, and again, you and I, we have had this conversation on and off the show several times. So this is no surprise that you and I disagree on this. To me, you sit there and what you said earlier, you're 100% right. If you sit there for half an hour, 45 minutes with someone on a coffee date, you don't know how they like the sunset. They don't know how they bowl. I get that. But after spending 30 to 60 minutes with someone, I know whether or not I want to learn how they bowl, how they like sunsets. I just know if I even care about that enough to learn, to build the relationship. And to me, if I don't want to learn those things about them, that means there's no spark for me.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a very black and white way to look at it. Shockingly.
Stunned.
I think it goes to don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, which I've said in the past, and I think it applies here. I think if you are meeting somebody and you find them attractive and the conversation is good, but you don't feel any romance or any physical chemistry, that it's very possible you just haven't spent enough time with them. And I think that that person is always worthy of, if nothing else, a second date, some more phone calls. I think it's very possible that some of the best relationships came from people who didn't think they were going to be a good fit and then ended up together and say, that's their story. I've heard that story multiple times from people like, God, I never thought I would like you. And they're some of the happiest couples that I know. We're inclined to gravitate towards people that we have things in common with, but then again, opposites attract. And unfortunately, I think that this time around, I would much rather end up with somebody that I have more things in common with and not worry about the spark as much.
You know what's interesting? I've never thought about this until 30 seconds ago. We probably ought to try to define spark or chemistry, because when you just said, I didn't feel romantic or this, or when I say a spark, wow, I can't believe I never thought of this. What is a spark to you? It sounds like to you, a spark is feeling of romance or some actual feelings towards this person, where for me, it's they are attractive enough, you can get past the physical stuff, but it's also, I want to get to know them. That's right. What the spark is for me, that I want to get to know them. If I don't want to get to know them because of whatever it is, whether it's physical or otherwise, there's no spark. The spark is the desire to get to know them. That to me is the spark. Interesting.
But if you're attracted to somebody on a first date, if you're sitting across from somebody and you find them attractive, what do you think it would be that would make you not want to get to know them? What is that thing, the anti-spark, so to speak?
For me, well, there are a lot of things, obviously. There's never just a silver bullet for any of these things. But for example, if I'm sitting there having the conversation and they sound like an idiot, like if they sound uneducated or stupid, or there are political things. We talked about that in an episode a couple of weeks ago, is politics can be
I mentioned those things.
Yeah.
Those are that's what I call turnoffs. Yeah, if I'm on a first date with somebody and there's a turnoff that I can't get past, or multiple turnoffs, then of course there's not going to be a second date. But I've been on many first dates where I wasn't sitting across from this person thinking, wow, I really want to get to know him. And so I didn't go on a second date. And then when I've gotten home, or even much longer into the future after I've said I'm not interested, especially lately, because I think I've been a lot more thoughtful since we started the podcast. I've done a lot more thinking about the past and my own experiences. And there were probably a few really good guys that, even though I wasn't sure I wanted to get to know them, they didn't say anything that was a turnoff. I just didn't feel, it's this feeling. Like I don't have a definition for a spark. It's a feeling. And here's the thing. Before dating apps, I would go to a bar with friends when I was single, and you would have a couple drinks and you'd see a guy and you'd start talking to him, and you didn't know anything about him, but you felt a spark. You felt that chemistry. And you know what that was? I'll tell you, it was vodka. It was
Oh.
vodka that was making the spark. And it still happens like that. I can be out with friends now. And I didn't drink in 2024 for whatever. I had a reason. I didn't drink. I drank here and there, but very, very little. And in 2025, I'm back to like being a normal person and having a few drinks at a party or when I go out. And all of a sudden, I never felt a spark. And now I realize that sometimes I feel a spark for people that I'm not even attracted to. And I said to my friend the other night, so I'm out at a bar and I've had 3 or 4 vodkas and we're having a great time. And I said to a friend of mine, I find myself really attracted to so-and-so. And I don't know what it is because I don't feel it all the time. But like right now, tonight, I find myself really attracted to him. And she was like, well, you should go for it. And I was like, no, it's not. It's not that kind of a thing. It's weird. And I couldn't explain it and I couldn't understand it. And it took this moment on this podcast for me to realize that thing is vodka. If I'm drinking vodka, somebody that I might not find attractive when I'm sober, God, they look a lot better or they feel a lot better or the idea of them is better. Isn't that something like, isn't there a paper bag something?
No, beer goggles.
Beer goggles.
Right. Yes. Like, it doesn't change no matter how old you are. Put a couple of drinks into your body and people start looking better. And here's the thing about going on a first date on a dating app. You are normally stone cold sober, or at least maybe this is just me. Oh my God, I'm just realizing this. In 2024, I did lunch and coffee dates because I wasn't drinking and I didn't want to go to a bar and meet for a cocktail. But I felt less attracted to people in 2024 than ever before.
Okay,
And
so we've just reached a really important milestone in Pam's dating life. You need to pregame before every date, Pam.
Well, or at least drink while I'm out. And I always stop drinking early in the evening so that I can drive home. And I'm not a huge drinker, 2-3 drinks and I'm pretty well buzzed. But yeah, back to this person who we should try to help before now that I've helped myself. Just get some vodka on the first date and then see if you feel a spark. How's that? Do we seem like professionals now?
Well, here's my final advice. Again, if it's man or woman, doesn't matter. For me, if you can't force it, if you don't feel something, you don't feel something. That's all it is for me. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have to be completely disgustedly turned off before you say I don't want to go out with him again.
Right.
But you don't have to force it either. That's the thing. Is just if you like them, you like them. And that's the thing. You said it a little while ago. You just can't put your finger on it. If you don't like someone and you don't want to get to know them, there's no spark and there probably never will be. In my opinion.
Know. No, I still think, and I'm going to equate the vodka with nerves because if I have a drink, I'm way less nervous. And I think a lot of people are not performing at their best on a first date. So I think if you're sitting across from somebody and you find them attractive and they're nice, if there's even, listen, this is 2025 and the dating pool is the dirtiest it has ever been. If you're sitting across from somebody, which take it from me is really hard to get to this point where I can't get a phone call. So if you're actually sitting across from somebody and you think there's a 10%, I'll go with 10% chance that this is somebody that might be great, go on a second date. Even if there's no spark, go on a third date. I'm not telling you to sleep with them, but like, I don't think rule somebody out just because there's no magic from the minute you meet.
Wow. So diametrically opposed advice. And maybe it's because maybe this goes back to the fact that the man generally, again, not always, but the rule of thumb is that the man is paying for it. So to me, it's like, look, what's my ROI if I already know I don't want to see this person again?
All right, we'll split the check.
Yeah,
split the check, but go out again.
Well, unfortunately, we're never going to agree on this. So Sparkless, good luck to you. Let us know how it works out.
I can't wait to listen back to this episode because I'm going to laugh at myself.
Well, hey, with that, let's close that one out. And this is time for my weekly request for ratings and reviews. Guys, I don't ask for my health. That doesn't make me happy to ask for it, but I'll tell you what, ratings and reviews are literally the most effective way to get more people to find the show because that's how the platforms know which podcast to push out to people. So just, write a couple of words. If you have any advice for Sparkless, now would be the perfect time. Write a quick review about our show and say, hey, Sparkless, here's what I would do. Tom and Pam are idiots. This is what I would do. This is a great time to share it on whatever app you're hearing our voices on right now. Please keep those ratings and reviews coming. Again, that is seriously the most effective way we can get the show out there, and that'll help us grow the family, and off we go. All right. So with that.
And for our commenters on YouTube, I know that you guys comment on every video, and you know that I reply to all your comments. So I would love to know whether you agree with me or Tom. So let me hear it in the comments, you guys. All right. Now we can move on.
You've got mail.
Get used to that, hearing that twice. All right, here we go. Pam and Tom. I've been dating someone for a few months now, and while things are going well in a lot of ways, there's one area I'm struggling with: intimacy.
Ooh.
When we have sex, it doesn't feel intimate. It's like something is missing, and I can't quite figure out how to bridge that gap. I'm trying to understand the difference between sex and intimacy. Is it something emotional, physical, or both? I want to feel closer to him, so we know it's a female writer this time, in these moments, but I don't know how to express that to him without making him feel like he's doing something wrong or that I'm unhappy with him. I care about him and I want us to connect on a deeper level, but I don't want to lose him. Is this all he's capable of? Maybe he needs more time, ? Thank you for your insight. I love the way you approach these topics on the podcast. And then she signed it. Thanks. I need more than the act. The act. Yes. Don't we all need more than the act?
Yeah.
But, some of us would be very happy just with the act.
Well, I don't believe that, actually.
I
think most people want more than the act.
Being sarcastic.
Oh, okay.
I do enjoy the act.
I actually believe, I think we all enjoy the act. That's part of the reason we do the act. But I think what's happened over the last, I don't know, however many years, but after less people that don't have the intimacy, they actually just kind of replace it with the act. And they say that's being intimate, even though it may or may not be. And in this case, clearly it's not.
No, I think you're right. I mean, but when you were married, would you have been happy just getting a lot more of the act?
Oh, hell yeah.
So wait, was this a boyfriend, girlfriend? I need to scroll back up.
Yeah, they've been dating for a month.
All right. Listen, this is a relationship that has not evolved. It doesn't sound like they're living together. It doesn't sound like they're married. Yeah, I think that I said to somebody today that there's no way that I can have sex without intimacy. I can try. I can perform the act. I can have sex, but I cannot have a long-term relationship with somebody that I am not genuinely intimate with, without that. God, I feel like we're talking about the first email, but to me, this is where the spark really comes in. That spark, that magic, that chemistry that happens is what makes sex beautiful instead of just an act. And so I understand her saga of wanting that. And I have been in the situation where you can be having sex and it's good sex and you cannot understand why that intimacy that you felt with other partners, that eye to eye contact, that feeling when you're actually making love to somebody and looking them in the eye and they're running their hands through your hair and saying, God, I love being inside of you. I mean, I love being with you.
Wow.
Yeah, that just slipped out.
Yeah, we're getting dirty on this one.
Yeah. It just, because I think it's very easy for me to get in my head about what that feels like. And if I'm 100% honest, I don't think I have felt that. I'm going to say 10 years since I felt that. Like the last 5 years of my marriage and the last 5 years of being single, I'm not saying I have not had sex because that would be a lie, but I have not felt what she's talking about, that deep, intimate connection that comes from just passionate lovemaking. I mean, like, it's not overrated and she's not wrong to want that. And I don't think that she should settle for not having that.
Agreed. I when you said that you haven't had it in 10 years, I started to do the math in my head and I think it's probably been 20 years for me.
That's a long time. I mean, like, We can have sex by ourselves. We can have sex with strangers. We can have sex with friends with benefits. I mean, you can have sex anytime,
Yep.
but finding that level of intimacy is so hard. And I know that me, for one, I'm not at all interested in the casual sex
Me neither.
or in the relationship that's not going to lead to the sex that I just explained.
Yeah.
Fully explained.
By the way, never mind. I'm not going to. Well, okay, I will. Since I brought it up myself, people ask all the time about Laura and me, and I just explained without meaning to that we're still just working our way through things.
Well, you're going slow.
Yeah, we're going slow, which I am so happy about, by the way. But I will say this, and going back to this email, how did she sign it? Need more than the act.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've talked about on TikTok at length is the fact that balancing sex and intimacy in a marriage or a partnership is one of the hardest things to do.
Agreed.
And couples that figure it out, wow, hats off to you. I mean, you think about all of the things that have to happen in order for this to work for both parties.
Right.
The timing and frequency, are the lights on or off? Is it, slow and easy eye contact, or are you just going to pound town? I mean, I know the struggle. I mean, and I think most couples understand that there's the two people are not always eye to eye on this. In fact, rarely, I think, are people eye to eye. There's some give and take and some compromise and some, I'm not in the mood tonight, but let's do it. I mean, that's the hardest thing. Not the hardest. Maybe it is the hardest thing for a couple.
No pun intended.
Right. So
what was that?
I'm not sure.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
I think, again, that is one of the hardest things to figure out for a couple. And so I feel for her. I feel for him. And I wanted to say that before I rip her apart.
Oh, God, I didn't even know we were going there. I'm going to defend her, so you go.
So, when someone's speaking verbally, you can usually give them a pass for saying something a certain way because, you're thinking through like this. But when they sit down and write an email, I have to assume that they actually thought about what they wrote, especially since they're hoping to get this read on a freaking podcast.
Right.
So look at her email, and this is what I want to say. This is the way things are worded are pretty important to me. She says, I want to feel closer to him in those moments, but I don't know how to express that to him without making him feel like he's doing something wrong. Sounds very sweet. The very next sentence, I don't want to lose him if this is all he's capable of. Maybe he needs more time. So she's literally saying he's doing something wrong. He's not capable of more. He's the problem in her world. Okay. Maybe she's the problem. Or maybe it's like every other couple that they just haven't figured it out. But she's clearly blaming him, whether she knows it or not. The way she wrote this, he's not capable of more. Maybe he's not capable of more, and maybe he needs more time. More time for what?
To have the feelings. Maybe he needs more time to develop the feelings that would lead to sex becoming okay. So I'm using sex and making love because in my mind, and this is such a Gen X thing, but we're brought up. We were brought up with, that act being making love. Like, yeah, somebody. Then you get older and you're just like, you can call it a million different things. Right. But like at the end of the day, everybody that I know that's within 10 years of my age in either direction, which is basically my entire friend group, I think we all, as women, most of my friend group is women, want to feel like we are being made love to. And I think a lot of the times we feel like we're being railed instead. And I have been in relationships where there were feelings and there was more. It wasn't a one night stand. It wasn't casual. And yet it still feels like you're being railed. There's no intimacy. And so I think the way I took her email was maybe this is a fairly new relationship and maybe she feels like the natural evolution will take them from sex to making love. Maybe they need to be in love. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, but she's made it very clear that it's his problem. The way
Well,
she wrote that.
right. And I assume that's because, like, I know I can't say I have been guilty of not saying something or not doing anything and just enjoying the act. Yeah,
Sure.
I kind of am stuck on that. I feel like I'm in her camp. I feel like she really cares about this guy. He's got a lot of great qualities. They've been intimate, and she expected it to feel like it was going to deepen their connection, and it didn't. And so, could she be doing something wrong? Of course. I mean, I don't know her. We're not friends. She could
Sure.
be doing something wrong. But at the same time, all I kind of feel is a plea for help. Like, if the sex doesn't feel like making love, should I keep doing it and hope that he comes around? Should I hope that this deepens? I just think that she doesn't want to lose him, because it's really sad when you think about the fact that you could date somebody and really connect and feel like this could be your person, and then the sex feels like an act instead of deepening the relationship. It just feels like something you're doing. Like, we could go play tennis instead. I mean, I feel like I really get what she's saying. Maybe because it feels a little personal to me. But
Sure. Now, I, by the way, I am completely in her camp in terms of wanting the act to include intimacy and to feel closer and all that kind of stuff. I'm with her, but for me, it's like, again, the way she wrote it was, it's his fault. She made that very clear that it's his fault, and that part is where I'm going. Look, if you're not going to, she doesn't want to talk to him about it because she says, I don't know how to express that to him without making him feel like he's doing something wrong. What she really meant is, I don't know how to express it to him without actually telling him that I think he's doing something wrong.
Oh, I disagree. I don't
No,
think
look at her next sentence. She literally says it's his fault. That's
wait,
why
I need to go back and see where she wrote it's his fault. I care
don't
about
want to
him
lose
and want
him
us
if
to
this is
connect on
all
a deeper level.
I don't want to lose him if this is all he's capable of. Maybe
Right.
he
Well,
needs more time. So both of
so
those
maybe
say that's his problem.
maybe that just means that this is all he's capable of right now. And that by saying this is all, maybe is this all he's capable of? Maybe he needs more time. Maybe she's just saying, is this just the way that he has sex? Or does he need to fall more deeply for me for this to become a more,
And how are both of
loving
those
act?
not his problem?
Yeah. So I understand that she is blaming him.
There you go. That's all I'm saying.
I'm guessing that she is trying to make it more intimate, and he is probably choosing to rail instead. I don't know why I've landed on that word. It just
Yeah.
seems
Well, I said go to
okay.
Pound Town earlier,
Yeah,
but
whatever. I just think I don't want to call him a fuck boy, but like, it is very possible that that's what he's been for a really long time, and he met somebody and he really likes her, but that's just how he does it. And so maybe they do need more time. I certainly am not going to be the one to tell her that she should end this relationship, but I'm also going to say you can't stay in it forever if things don't deepen. What is the worst thing that could happen by just saying to him, listen, when we are in bed together, I don't feel like we're connecting on a level that I would like to feel. And if this is really serious and this is going somewhere, is there something that I could do differently? So now I'm making it her fault. Is this something I could do differently to make this a more intimate experience? He'll probably just say, suck it for longer. I mean, I don't know. I'm not giving this guy much credit at this
you
point.
are really not.
I don't know.
She's perfect. He's a complete shithead in your world. All right, clearly.
I don't know. He probably only does it doggy style. I'm a woman, so I'm seeing this from a female perspective, and I have been with men who they know how they want to do it, and they don't care if you're satisfied, and they don't care what your favorite position is, and they never say, was this good for you? And so, yeah, we call those fuck boys. So if you're one of those, stop it.
But she also said she doesn't know how to express it to him. So we go back to the age old, you got to figure out how to communicate.
I know that's such a hard conversation.
It
I
really
understand.
is.
I'm walking in her shoes, and I'm like, I really like this guy. The sex is good. We get along. This could be a great thing. But I'm about to tell him that the sex really isn't good.
Yep.
That sounds very scary to me. And it
It-
sounds like that she could, and she's going to give him a complex, because now once you've had to try to fix something, you've changed it so that now if he's loving it and thinks that everything's perfect and she's like, oh, by the way, this really isn't doing it for me. Oh God, I have to bring something up since we have the time. I went and this is on topic, but
okay.
I went and saw the movie. I hope you guys are still with us because this is a hot topic. Baby Girl. Have you heard of the movie with Nicole Kidman?
Oh yes, I saw the previews and it just made me feel my skin crawl.
Okay,
I want to
so
see it, but oh wow.
You want your skin to crawl at home. So anyway, I saw it in the movies, and I have never wished that I wasn't sitting next to strangers or my daughter more. It was definitely a watch at home kind of movie. I'm not going to say the acting was great, but it was something. It is like erotica. Nicole Kidman, the guy, I did not even find the man attractive, but goddamn, he was so sexy halfway through the movie. And I started the movie going, why did they cast this ugly guy? By halfway through the movie, I was like, please come to my house. Like, I'm telling you that Nicole Kidman sits down with her husband. Well, at the very beginning, she doesn't really say anything, but she's not satisfied. And I'm not going to give away too much for people that want to see the movie. But halfway through the movie, maybe 3/4 of the way through the movie, she does end up telling him that it hasn't been good for her in their entire marriage. She waited a little long. And it is catastrophic, the outcome from that conversation. And so, I don't know, art imitating life, imitating art. If you haven't seen the movie, I'd love to know if you're going to see it and what you think of it in the comments somewhere, whether that's on YouTube, whether that's on Spotify, whether you send us an email. I'm going to watch it again in the privacy of my bedroom when it comes out. But it's a really good argument for A, being honest as early as possible, and B, being prepared for whatever the fallout will be.
Right.
I mean, because when you tell him that it's not doing it for you and you've been doing it for a while, men's egos tend to be somewhat fragile when it comes to sex.
Now, remember, she's saying all she said in her email is that she's not feeling the intimacy. Something is missing, and she just wants to bridge a gap. And she didn't necessarily say the sex is bad. She just said that the intimacy is missing. And I think that that's a different conversation than you don't know how to fuck.
Well, maybe, but it's the exact same conversation that they had in the movie. The sex looked, I'm telling you, the sex looked good to me. I wouldn't have known in that first scene that the sex wasn't good until after they had sex. Then you immediately know that it wasn't good for her. But
by the way, I don't think Nicole Kidman is hot at all. I've never found her.
No, I find her to be elegant. I can't, she does movies like this. She did Eyes Wide Shut with Tom Cruise when they were married. She doesn't have any problem doing these movies. Her body, she's so skinny, but she's got a better 6-pack, 8-pack than any man I've seen on screen. Like I cannot believe that woman is 60 years old and just kill
she's
her.
aging well. I've never been attracted to her.
So. Right. And she's had a lot of work, but I won't judge her for that because
good for her. Great.
Someday you guys will be watching this on YouTube going, what happened to Pam's face? I don't recognize her. And I'll be like, it's too bad. I turned 60 and went in, got everything changed. But back to this email, I would first give it a little more time. And then I would actually try to be a little proactive. I do find that missionary position gives you an opportunity to have some really intense eye-to-eye, what's the word? It's gone. Contact. Wow. It was just, God. Eye-to-eye contact, I think, is very sensual. And so maybe try to get them on top of you instead of behind you. I think there's a lot of ways to develop intimacy. I think it's going to be really hard without talking to him, but I understand the fear in talking to him.
Yeah. And I would say all of those things preceded by make sure that you actually understand if you're adding to that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't think we're that far off in terms of what we agree and disagree on, but I think it comes down to it takes two. Right. And So she's blaming him clearly, and I know that you don't necessarily agree with me, but the way she wrote the email, she's blaming him for their
No, but
lack
I
of
can,
intimacy.
yeah, I can see that now. My ex-husband used to always say to me, when you're pointing a finger at me, stand in front of the mirror and look at that finger pointing back at you.
Yep.
But he would say that to me at least twice a day.
Nice.
So I mean, it is possible that you are also doing something wrong, and it's just not, it's not a big enough deal for him to write into the show. But
Yeah.
you're the one that needs this intimacy that he probably already feels. Men and women are wired very differently. So
yeah, there's no question there. I just
don't
for
be a
me,
Nicole
it's
Kidman.
always going to be, what's the old saying? I can't even remember, but it's basically look inward first before you try to fix somebody else.
Right.
So
Right. No. Yeah, it takes two to tango. So I know that we kind of went round and about on this one. I really enjoyed that.
yeah,
All of these subjects make me look at myself and my own relationships a lot more. And it did make me think about that movie again, which and everybody else I know who saw it said, oh, it's the worst acting. It was terrible. But I think it was intended to be exactly what it was.
oh,
I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a sicko. I don't know. Don't judge me, you guys. Sometimes
she
things.
is a sicko, but
Sometimes you hear things on this show. They just come out. Can you edit that out, Brian? All that stuff?
yeah, please don't.
No. All right. Well, thank you for your emails. Whether you think we did a good job or a bad job, you can tell us in the comments. You can write to us at talkingphase@gmail.com. Send us your opinions, send us your requests for advice. You can see we do a bang up job. No pun intended. I read them all. Most of them get sent to Tom, and then we'll let you know when we're going to read it on the show. So we love hearing from you. Again, it's talkingphase@gmail.com.
Awesome. And to close this out for this week, you guys, once again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all of the ratings, the reviews, just for listening, for being part of the Talking Phase family. We would love to hear your advice. And, my guess is Sparkless and Needs More Than the Act would also like to hear from you. So again, we're not professionals. So by the way, if you're a professional, feel free to drop a note in there and say, dude, stop it. These people need to do this or that. I mean,
you're screwing them up, Pam and
yes.
Tom. Why are they writing to you?
But in order to get those professionals involved, please share this with your friends and your family. The ratings and reviews help. We do this every single Friday, whether you like it or not. I hope you do like it, but we're doing this every Friday. So please make sure you follow us here. By the time this drops, we'll know if TikTok exists, but we also are on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're all over the place.
You can't get away.
Yes, we're on YouTube. Did I say that? I can't remember. But you can get this podcast anywhere that podcasts are available. And with all of that said, this is Pam and Tom signing off until next week.
Have a great day, everybody. Happy February tomorrow. Make sure you stay warm. We're almost to spring.
Almost there.
Almost there.